Hey guys, how is everybody doing? The month that was February is now behind us. So, with it now being the beginning of March, I have decided to rank all four movies that I watched of the month of February. Now, you might be confused of why I did not do a movie ranking of January's 2024 movies. I only got to see two movies in the month of January. That was Night Swim and The Beekeeper. And if you want to know, my favorite movie of January 2024 was pretty easy, which was The Beekeeper, which I was very happy about, and which was a movie I was pretty excited for, and I'm glad that the movie that turned out. So, nonetheless, this is a video. These are videos I'm hoping to do throughout the entire year, to where I rank all the movies I saw that month and all that, give my thoughts on them and all that, so people know what movies I watch. This is just also a video that I didn't do last year. I wanted to do last year, but I never got around to doing it. I did it in 2022 when I was first joining YouTube, and I had that shitty computer that I had, so I had to do them in shorts. And I'm not proud of that, but they're there to stay. You could go watch them if you want. If you want to go to my shorts section on my channel. So this is a video series I'm hoping to do every month this entire year. So I only checked out four movies this month of February. It's a pretty slow start so far, but March. March is gonna be a big month. I've already seen three movies this month, and it's only the first weekend. But you can guess the movies I watched. So, with that all out of the way, here's my ranking of all four February movies that I watched. Coming in at number four is no what a surprise whatsoever, and that is Madam Web. This is the worst movie that I watched in the month of February. Now, to set the stage for this movie, I had no expectations walking into this movie. The second they announced this movie, I thought it was a bad idea. This was all these announcements coming out right after Morbius came out, which I'm more forgiving on it. I don't think it's a gigantic piece of shit, but I still don't care for the movie that much. And when Sony decided to do this little spin-off universe thing, I thought it was an interesting idea. I didn't hate the idea, but the first few movies that they released, I was like, okay, it's not bad. Especially the first two Venom movies. I really enjoyed those movies. I don't understand the hate for Venom Let There Be Carnage. I think that's a fun movie. But then you got Morbius, which is, again, I don't think it's the worst Marvel movie ever made or the worst comic book movie ever made, but it's a pretty mediocre movie and makes very wrong decisions. But when the trailer for Madam Web came out, I think everybody, as a fan base of Marvel and Spider-Man, all went, "What the fuck? What is Sony doing?" But I was in the majority going, it does look bad, but I'm gonna still go in thinking that it'll be a decent time. Maybe it'll be one of those movies that'll surprise all of us. I'm not sure, because there have been plenty of movies that have had bad trailers and bad advertisement that have actually turned out pretty good. I was hoping this would be one of those times. So, then the early reactions came out, and saying that it's the worst comic book movie ever made, one of the worst Marvel movies ever made. And let me tell you, I have never been so miserable watching a comic book movie. I refuse to watch Fan Four Stick, the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. I refuse to watch that movie. I'll never watch it ever. But the worst comic book movie I watched before this movie was the 2005 Elektra movie, the follow up to the Daredevil Ben Affleck movie. That is by far this probably is the worst comic book movie I've ever watched. That is the only comic book movie in history I have never finished. I refuse to finish it. But damn it, does this movie come so close to being one of the worst comic book movies, the worst comic book movie I've ever seen. To where they make the worst decisions ever. They make the wrong decisions. The writing is everywhere. I'm not a person to bash filmmakers. I don't want to be that guy. But I see no passion in this movie, because usually when I watch a movie that's bad, I get the sense that there's a director, a writer, a cast, producers, people that were involved in the movie that had an idea for the movie, that thought that was good. That's why people joined on. That's why people are in it. I don't see that. Almost every person acting in this movie does not look like they give a shit. And this is one of those movies where I think advertisement fucked all of us. I'm one of the people that kind of fell for the advertisement. And if you fell for it too, you're not alone. I fell for it too, because there's a point in the trailers where they show the three women that apparently kill the bad guy in this movie, and Dakota Johnson, Madam Web, has to protect in this movie. They get to wear Spider-Man suits. Yeah, sure. When they first revealed them, they didn't look great. I thought they were mediocre. It's like, oh well, they could have been better. But maybe I'll like them more when I see them in action. Oh god, that's gross. I really hope you didn't see that. Um, but when they showed that, I was like, okay, it's mediocre. But maybe they'll be better when I see them in action. You don't get to see them in action. It is a 30-second premonition in this movie to where the villain of this movie has a dream one night that these Spider Women are gonna come after him and kill him. But the when you see the suits, and this the only time you get to see the suits is in his dream. I'm sorry, that's not a spoiler. That is the marketing fucking all of you. And I'm sorry if you fell for it. I fell for it too, and I feel sorry for myself. But yeah, Madam Web, possibly the worst movie of the year I've seen so far, and it's gonna take one hell of a movie to top this movie. Go away. Ugh. Coming in at number three is a movie that was in my honorable mentions for my most anticipated, and I was very disappointed by the movie, and that is Argyle. This is Matthew Vaughn's new directorial effort that has a very good cast that I was pretty excited to see. But I was really excited for this movie, but unfortunately, the final product was very disappointing because what all the advertisements and the trailers really sold me on this movie to where author writing agent books like spy movies, like James Bond type agent spy books, and then you find out that they're all actually coming to life and actually happening. And so the government is after her, and then this other spy is trying to protect her so the government doesn't get a hold of her. That sounds like a good time. Sign me up. But unfortunately, this movie takes some risks, and it goes in different directions and all that. And it also has like a huge climax, not climax, but like a huge reveal, huge twist that does not match this movie's tone. There's a huge twist in this movie revealed like almost towards the end of this movie. It's like, well, that doesn't feel necessary. And then the rest of the movie, it's like this whole different movie, and it's like, this is not the movie I signed up for. I don't want to spoil it for you in case if you have not watched it, but there's a huge twist in this movie that kind of hurts the movie because it's not the movie I signed up to watch. But unfortunately, it's just one of those movies I was really excited about, and it just left me disappointed. Coming in at number two is a movie that really, really surprised me, and is a movie I didn't really expect myself to watch, and that is Lisa Frankenstein. This is a movie that I had known nothing about going in. This was a movie I went in completely blind. This was a movie that I had known nothing about. The only thing I knew is that the person that wrote Jennifer's Body wrote this movie, and Robin Williams' daughter, of all people, directed this movie. That alone had me interested, and also that's something I found out like a day before I watched this movie. So this is a time to where I like to check my local theater to see what they're playing, and this movie showed that it was going to be playing on February 9th. I wasn't doing anything then. I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I was the only one in my theater. That's how much this movie was advertised, and that's how much people didn't give a fuck about this movie. And this movie really surprised me of how much I enjoyed it, to where I would say this is this generation's Edward Scissorhands, which felt like a Tim Burton like type movie. If you're a big Tim Burton fan, I'd recommend this movie to you because this movie was pretty good when it comes to his type of style of filmmaking. So if you're a big Tim Burton fan, definitely check this movie out. But anyways, but this was a movie I know nothing about. I just checked out because I was curious, and let me tell you. This movie was so fucking weird to where I actually liked it because of that. When I first walked out of the theater, I was like, huh, well, that was weird, but I thought it was interesting. But the more I thought about it, the more I seemed to like it, the more I enjoyed the movie because of it. I like the tone it goes for. Something I really liked about this movie, something I don't really talk about, is the color scheme of this movie. The movie's like really litly bright. It's like a really bright movie when it comes to its colors and set design, but when it comes to this generation, I think they have an issue of trying to make movies look like they're part of the 80s or 70s or whatever time period they were trying to set it in. This is one of those movies to where I thought they succeeded because this movie is set in the 80s, I believe, or not like really like mid 70s kind of, like the end of the 70s kind of like that. And they did a good job making me feel like that. And this is a weird movie because I'm not fucking with you right here. This movie's pretty dark in some areas, to where there's parts to where the Frankenstein, it's more of a zombie if anything, kills people and then sews onto their body parts onto him, the parts that don't work or body parts that he needs. This movie's also really sexual. You're probably wondering, why am I pointing that out? I'll get to that. This movie's really sexual in some areas. And there's a part to where the main character of this movie realizes that she's in love with the Frankenstein. Because the guy that she loved apparently does not like her and it was sleeping with her stepsister. And so she hates him and falls in love with Frankenstein and realizes that he's the only person that cares for her. He is the only person that loves her. And there's a part to where they want to have sex before they both die together. And the Frankenstein cuts off the other guy's dick and he sews it to himself.
What the fuck?
That is not a fucking joke. That is an actual scene that happens in this movie. It's a weird movie. But this is a movie I'm glad I watched it. This was a movie I probably would have never watched it if it came out on streaming or Blu-ray or anything. This is a movie I'm glad I watched out in the theaters. This is a movie I kind of want to watch with my cousin, who's a big Tim Burton fan. I want to watch it with them because I think they might like it. But yeah, give this movie a shot whenever it comes out on streaming or whenever it comes out on Blu-ray. This is a movie I would recommend, and it was an interesting movie. It was an interesting movie for sure. Coming in at number one, my favorite movie of the month of February 2024 was Bob Marley, One Love. I am a huge Bob Marley fan. I've loved his music ever since I was a kid, especially Three Little Birds. I listen to that song whenever I feel sad or angry or whatever, when I need to calm down. I sometimes listen to it before I go to bed, too, to calm me down, get me sleepy, kind of. I know it's weird. But Bob Marley, he's one of those artists to where I didn't really know much about him. I didn't know what he went through as an artist. I knew there was some sort of like Jamaican war going on, and he wanted to bring peace to Jamaica or whatever. That's all I really knew. And this movie was good, and I really liked the story that they told. But the only thing I didn't really like about this movie is that they only told one piece of story of his lifetime. They only told the story to where he was trying to bring peace to Jamaica and this Jamaica war going on. They only tell that part of the story. That is the only part of Bob Marley's life that they tell in this movie. To where other musical biopics, like you got Bohemian Rhapsody and Elvis, they tell their entire life story as an artist. How they became a musician, what got them into musician world, what happened to them as they were kids or whatever. But this movie only focuses on one thing of his story, which it's a little disappointing, but you can tell that almost everything going on in this movie would actually happen because this was made by Bob Marley's actual family, because Bob Marley's family was involved with this movie, which I was really happy to see about that, and I'm really proud of his family for doing that, so kudos to them. And, besides from Dune Part 2, which I'm still processing, this movie might be my favorite movie of the year. I really enjoyed this movie. If you're a huge Bob Marley fan like I am, you'll definitely enjoy this movie. It's a damn good time. I really enjoyed the movie. Of course, the music's great. If you're gonna fuck up a Bob Marley movie and his music, you've done something really wrong. And the person that played Bob Marley and his wife, they did great in this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if they got nominated at the Oscars, but it's a little early for that. But overall, Bob Marley One Love was a pretty damn good movie, and it was my favorite movie of the month of February. Thank you all so much for watching my ranking of all the February movies of the 2024 season. Let me know what movies you watched in the month of February, and if you want to, leave me a ranking of all the movies you watched in the month of February. So, if you like this video, like it. If you love it, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. And, of course, until my next video, I'll see you all next time.